You're listening to episode 43 of the Fed and Fearless podcast. On this episode, Darryll Stinson shares how to shed your past stories and overcome rejection so you can live out your purpose and build a lasting legacy. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fed and Fearless podcast. I'm Laura Schoenfeld. I'm your host as always. And today's episode is really exciting to me because I get to have an interview with someone who has overcome some pretty amazing and challenging things in their life, and yet has turned his experience of rejection and addiction and even suicidal thoughts and behaviors into a really amazing, impactful career. And I just love anyone who's an entrepreneur has a special place in my heart. I just love people who are taking risks and stepping outside of their comfort zone to make things happen and to help others. And my guest today is no exception. So I'm super pumped to have with me on the show, Darryll Stinson. Darryll is a thought leader on athletic transition. As a dynamic TEDx speaker, hip hop artist, pastor, and certified John Maxwell coach, he shares his life experience of overcoming addiction, childhood rejection, mental illness, depression, and multiple suicide attempts to produce success in his life. Through his company, Second Chance Athletes, he helps athletes and entrepreneurs shed their past stories and create multiple streams of income that align with their highest purpose so that they can impact more lives and build a lasting legacy. When he's not working, Darryll enjoys rapping, reading, entertainment, music, sports, and spending time with his wife and 3 beautiful daughters. Unfortunately, I did not get Darryll to rap on this episode. We might have to have him back so that I can actually get to hear rapper Darryll, but we got Pastor Darryll, Entrepreneur Darryll, and Storyteller Darryll on this episode. So it's a really fun one. I think I only talked for maybe like 5% of the whole conversation because Darryll just had so much to share, which is fine by me. I always love to have a guest who doesn't really need me to pull stuff out of them. But he has a really powerful story to share and one that gave me goosebumps when I was listening to it. So I'm super excited for you to listen to it as well. We did have a little bit of recording challenges. He unfortunately had to record in his car. And the day that we're recording this, it's in the 90s in North Carolina where we both live. So his computer was not handling that heat very well, but hopefully the editing has been done in a way that allows you to appreciate and enjoy what Darryll has to share. And like I said, I'll have to have him on the show again in the future because he just has so much wisdom and knowledge and a really awesome perspective on life, having been through the hardships that he's experienced and coming out on the other side more successful and able to make a bigger impact on the world around him. So all of that said, I'm pumped for today's episode. I really think you're going to enjoy it. You should get your pen and paper out so you can take some notes. And if you're driving, just plan to listen to this episode again. And without further ado, here is Darryll Stinson. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Fed and Fearless podcast. I'm so excited today to have with me on the show, Darryll Stinson. Welcome to the show, Darryll.
Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you got your pencils ready, or if you're driving in the car, like this is going to be one that you want to come back and re-listen to. You want to know why? Because we have a great host, and
Aw.
great hosts ask great questions. So we're going to move forward today.
Oh, thank you. Well, and right before we got on, I was just mentioning to Darryll that I couldn't remember how I came across him. We know it was on Instagram.
Yeah.
Probably like one of those discovery things, or I saw somebody else quote you or something like that. And I just, I loved the message that you were sharing. Watch your awesome TED Talk video, which we will link to in the show notes for today. And I just thought that you would be a really cool guest to bring on to discuss reframing rejection. And just to get started, just because, like I said, most of my listeners probably don't necessarily know you yet. They will know you after this, but they're going to get to know you. And I think your story is really powerful as a way to get to know why you're so passionate about reframing rejection. So,
thank you.
I would love to hear your story again for me and for the first time for a lot of our listeners. How did your experience with rejection lead you to where you are today as an entrepreneur and a business owner?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. And so, man, rejection never makes us feel good, does it? Right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and say, you know what, today, I think one of my goals is to get rejected. But the thing about rejection is it makes us feel like we're not good enough. It makes us feel like we don't have what it takes. It makes us feel unloved, devalued. And I felt that sting very early, like many of the listeners. It usually starts young. So for me, I was in accelerated learning classes, and I talk about this on the TEDx talk. And me being accelerated learning classes from Jackson, Michigan meant that I was one of two Black students in an all-white class. And this was fine. Like, they loved me. They cheated off my tests. Like, I was one of the smartest kids in the class. Like, they called me goon. Like, it was just like, you big goon, like, just funny. And like, I thought that since they liked me, that meant like everybody in the world liked me. And I had a big head and a very large ego. And so one day I'm walking down the hallway and I see this group of Black students circling together, and they're just like laughing, cracking jokes. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to go over there and get in on the jokes. So I walk over there and I say, hey, what's funny? And one of the kids turned towards me and says, you're what's funny, white boy. And they all started laughing hysterically. And I walked away feeling like, for the first time in my life, my unique self wasn't enough to be liked or loved by others. And that started some insecurity in my heart, all the way to the point to where I changed everything about myself to fit in with the Black community. I changed the way that I talk, the way that I walk, the music I listened to. I even changed the way that I laughed. And do you know what happened? They actually loved me. It worked. Like, I got accepted. I got street cred. They still call me goon, but it was a different type of goon. Rather than goofy goon, it was like street goon, and I loved it, but deep down inside, I knew it wasn't me who they accepted. It was who I was pretending to be. What saved me was sports, because sports gave me the freedom to not have to choose between white friends and Black friends. Nobody cared if I talked white or act white, as long as I scored points and we won the game. Everybody would invite me to the parties, whether or not I listened to rap music or country music, because I was a star athlete. And sports became my identity. It wasn't just the way that I didn't have to choose between races. It was also the way that I was going to get out of poverty, buy my family a house, a car, like be rich, famous, and successful. And at the time, and I don't always talk about this, which is good because I know you're a person of faith. I was agnostic at the time. And so I had like no foundation. Like, I just believed in all, like, a bunch of stuff. And if you're there and you're listening today, I want you to know, like, that's okay. Like, we're on this journey of faith. I've been extremely agnostic. I've believed in different faiths before. I currently am a Christian because of an encounter I had in a psychiatric unit that I'll share later. But I go into college on a Fulbright scholarship as an agnostic with this high athletic identity, big ego, big head, playing for a team that ended up as a MAC school being ranked number 23rd in the nation, played with Antonio Brown, 2013 number 1 draft pick, Eric Fisher, a bunch of NFL players who won Super Bowls, really talented team. And I was one of those talented athletes. I played as a freshman. At the end of my freshman year, I got hurt. And that should have been the end of my career. I had to have emergency back surgery because my left leg was going to go paralyzed. So the coaches said, look, you got a golden ticket, son. You can still, get a free education and come around football whenever you want. Like, we still value your presence on this team. They still look at you as a leader. But for me, sports was not what I did. It was who I was. And I couldn't let it go like that, because without football, how was I going to be popular? Who was I without sports? Like, I had lost my identity since the 3rd grade. So I couldn't let it go. So I did something stupid. I signed a liability waiver so that I can continue to play the game by numbing my pain. And let me just pause right here and say that that rejection, if you do not know how to properly manage it in your life, will push you further into depression, will push you into self-sabotage, will push you into more loss of identity. The time to process rejection is when it first happens, because the longer it sits and you dwell on it, and it doesn't have to be an extreme case where, like, I met a girl one time where at the age of 14, her parents dropped her off at an orphanage and never came back. And that's huge rejection. A husband leaving a wife, or wife leaving a husband, or having an affair, that's huge rejection. For me, you've seen that it was just some kids making fun of me in the 3rd grade. Whatever it is that makes you feel like you're not good enough, it can be the fact that you and your friends are getting ready to go out for drinks and you get excluded, or don't get invited, or have to sit in a different car because all the cool people are like, it doesn't matter what it is. Wherever you feel excluded, there's people rejection, but then there's circumstantial rejection. My injury, it wasn't a person's fault. It was just life throwing me a curveball. And whenever you encounter that, it makes you feel like, man, something's wrong with me. I'm unlucky. Like, this moment of rejection, I'm internalizing that. And the more you internalize it, the worse it gets. So the time to process it is always now. And if you've had some rejection and you haven't yet processed it, I have some great news for you, that you can still process it. I give away a free rejection to success guide. There's no follow-up funnels. There's I coach athletes through second chance athletes. There's plenty of ways to work with me through that. I can help you grow your business and your brand and all that stuff. But the rejection to success guide is my free gift to the world, because I so believe that buried beneath our most painful moments of rejection is treasure that we can cash in. Okay. And so I felt this rejection, and because I didn't want to deal with the pain of being a failure at sports, and not knowing what I was going to do with my life, and losing my identity, which would have caused more rejection, because now without sports, they were going to reject me again, right? Nobody really liked Darryll. They only liked athlete Darryll. And so I signed a liability waiver, played for 2 years, put my body through 2 years of drug addiction, pain, torment. Sports thought it was dumb that I was playing Division I football after an injury, so they weren't paying for my medical expenses. My personal insurance wasn't paying for my medical expenses. And so I had to pay for this out of pocket. So I started to sell drugs to cover the cost of my medical expenses. So for 2 years, my life is spiraling out of control. I'm going from, practices to drug transactions, to classes, to drug transactions, to film sessions, to drug transactions, to drug transactions during practice. And it was a mess. And I'm going and visited all of these doctors, every specialist that there was. I probably visited over a period of 2 years, more than 60 doctors, because I was so desperately trying to get healed. And you know what? I was able to earn a starting position, but I did so at a cost to my health. I had got so addicted to opioids that I was taking so many that it would thin my blood to the point where every time I made contact on the field, my nose would bleed. So you go back and watch film from me and the good game is Michigan State. Everybody remembers when CMU beat Michigan State. You see me get a hit on Kirk Cousins. And then you just see this kid is killing it first quarter. And then you're like, what happened to him second, third? He was dominating, then he's going. Well, what happened is my nose started bleeding because my opioids, kicked in my system. And then I was playing with nose plugs in my nose. So I'm out of breath the entire time, but I'm better than the next guy. So they just kept me in there at 50%. So Fast forward, going into my senior year, coach is like, this guy's going to kill himself, even though he signed a liability waiver and we're technically not liable. We're being negligent now. So they kicked me off the team and I was faced to deal with insecurity. I had no foundation to face. So there was not like this underlying hope that some higher power being out there was going to save me. And so I just got suicidal. And it's not that I didn't think that I could be successful at anything other than sports. It's that I didn't think I would be fulfilled by anything other than sports. And for some people, that's what rejection feels like. It's not that we don't think that there's another girlfriend or another business or another sales call we could have. It's that we just don't think about that one that will ever come back. Like sports was never coming back. And then at the same time, I had a girlfriend who I was dating for 4.5 years, planning on marrying. We had our kid's name already picked out. Well, I wasn't going to the NFL anymore. So she left me and got engaged to another man. And my girlfriend was gone. Football was gone. No faith foundation. And I went deeper and deeper into that depression. I started mixing pills and alcohol together, hoping that I wouldn't wake up the next day. I would drink a whole fifth of alcohol with some of my Vicodin pills and oxycodones, and I would get in the car hoping that a car accident would end it all. I remember pinning my suicide letter in a car just like this one, and turning up my music, getting ready to go 75 miles per hour down a 35 mile per hour road onto incoming traffic to end it all. And all of these attempts at suicide landed me in a psychiatric unit. I'm going to pause because I'm getting emotional. Because if you would have saw me when it wasn't nighttime and I wasn't alone, you would have never known that I was struggling with depression. And there's going to be listeners who you might be making 6-7 figures in your business. People see you during the day. You're full of light, love, happiness, and joy. But then you go home and you cry yourself to sleep because you're dealing with imposter syndrome, or you don't know if you can sustain success, or you don't even know if you're really doing what you love to do just because you're making money. Wherever you are, there's this deep gaping hole in your soul. And I want you to know that you're not alone. And I want you to know that here's a guy who's been there, who was successful as an athlete, but miserable on the inside. And I want to encourage you, reach out, talk to somebody, share. I say it like this: you can still be Superman or woman, Laura, and have kryptonite. And I think the temptation that is, if I'm struggling mentally or anxiety, or if I got any type of issue that somehow that makes me less valuable, or somehow that like ruins my credibility, like I can't convert if they know I got mental health issues. Not true. Hey, TEDx speaker, aspiring author, business coach, Darryll Stinson, and still to this day, in full transparency, take antidepressants. Still Superman, got kryptonite. Okay, so I'm in the psychiatric. Do you want to hear this part? It's about my faith.
Yes. I feel like I'm like not even going to talk. You just keep going.
You can jump in at any time, yo. So I'm in the psychiatric unit, and this will be good content. So I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to try not to cry, and then I'm going to get into some content. So this next part, I want you to hear it, be inspired, listen to my faith, but also as we get into this next content piece, I want you guys to really think about what is the one decision that you need to make. If we can get you to make one decision that's going to move your life forward in the right direction, like we've succeeded, like we've done our part to put good in the world. So here we go. So I'm in the psychiatric unit. I had been crying so long that my eyes were swollen shut. All I could see is a little slit out of the bottom of them. And that's important because of what I'm getting ready to tell you. I went from 275 pounds to 219 pounds in 4 weeks because I was trying to starve myself to death. My mother is the one who took me to the psychiatric unit. She carried me in. We were in Detroit, Michigan. I was screaming at the doctor when he started to ask me questions about why did I want to take my life, what was going on. I said, just leave me alone. I just want to die. Get away from me. A woman with green pants comes in, and that's all I could see because I could just open up just that slit. And she comes in my room and she says, I don't know who you are. I don't even have jurisdiction to be back here in this part of the hospital. But God sent me back here to tell you that you need to say yes to him. Will you say yes? And I'm like, no. What was saying yes to Jesus gonna do? It wasn't gonna heal my back. It wasn't gonna bring my girlfriend back. It wasn't gonna get me into the league. Get away from me. That's your God. I don't want any of that. This woman prayed for me, my mother said, for like 15 minutes. She left, said she was going to come back again. A short time after that, my grandmother, who's like one of those church going, praying grandmas, you know, like pull your ear if you move in church, like cook Sunday dinner. Her name's Greta. She's a great cook. She had driven from an hour and a half away, Jackson, Michigan, my hometown. And she burst through the doors and she said, I've been praying for you the whole way here. God told me, you know exactly what to do. You need to say yes to him. It was the same command a second time from two different people who never talked to each other, didn't know each other. And I couldn't deny that it was God's way of speaking to me through people, because God works supernaturally, naturally. But my heart was so hard and I had so much mixture of beliefs that I still didn't surrender. Even after that clear moment of God trying to reach out to me, and I rejected his love and his grace. And I just said, no, Grandma, that's you. You're supposed to say that. You're a church goer, Grandma. That's your God. Leave me alone. I just want to die. My grandmother prayed for me for about 5 minutes. She backed away. My family's in the room. My dad, my stepmom, my sisters, my aunt, my grandma. They never see me like this. You can tell that everyone's thinking the same thing. What did we do wrong? How did we miss this? When really it wasn't their fault. It was me who was hiding my brokenness. The depression in the room was so heavy. You could feel the thickness in the air. All I know is that I heard the still small voice of God whisper to me and say, Darryll, will you say yes? And it was something about hearing our Father's voice that gave me the strength to mutter out a, yes, Lord. And the moment I said yes, the depression that I was under immediately left. My eyes got healed. I could open them and see again. It felt so good. I didn't know what else to do. I just kept screaming, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. That was the moment that changed my life. I'll tell you a funny story. I'm screaming, yes, Lord. The doctor comes in the room. He says, what's going on? I said, I was running from God and I just put my faith in Christ. He said, send him upstairs to the psychiatric unit. This guy's going crazy. And so I still had to stay there and go through that process. But that literally, I was transformed in an instant. And I started this journey of trying to figure out who I was beyond sports. And here's what I've discovered, okay? Some of this is fresh content. I haven't shared this on too many podcasts yet. Here's what I discovered. It really comes down, when you think about success, especially in today's economy, especially in the online business world, right? There's always a billion things you got to do. You got to have a podcast. You got to have a vlog. You got to have a blog. You got to be on social, like every social media platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You got to be on TikTok now, dancing and giving content out. Like there's so much stuff you have to do. But I think that aside from social media, blogging weekly, aside from funnels and lead magnets and offers and follow-up sequences and value offer loops, like I get it. I coach all that stuff too. But really what it comes down to is identifying your next yes. For some of you, give yourself a pat on the back because you've kept listening and you said yes to finishing this podcast. You weren't just going to casually listen. You're like, I'm going to tune in and get something today. You said yes to your development today. But now it's time for you to make another yes. I'll give you some questions to think about. What is something that you've been putting off for a long time because you were too busy that now you have time to do? I think it's time for you to say yes to writing your book. I think it's time for you to say yes to spending more time with your family. I think it's time for you to say yes to investing in your health, both mentally and physically. What do you need to say yes to? Because we get too caught up in the weeds. Whenever we set out to accomplish anything in our life, in our faith, in our family, and our business, there's always 101 things that we need to do, right? We've got to build the funnels. We've got to start. We got to go to the gym. We got to get new shoes. We got to get our hair done. We've got to think through our content. We've got to plan out everything. But really, it's not about the task that you have to do. It's about the decision that you need to make. It's what I call your next yes. For me, it was that yes in the psychiatric unit that completely transformed everything else that I had to do. And the book, The Power of Habit, they talk about keystone habits, right? It's really that one habit that triggers the rest of the habits. So what's the one yes that you need to make in your life and your family and your business and your faith that's going to trigger the rest of your future? If we can get really clear on your yes, which is what I help my clients do, is how do I find that next yes, right? And then how do I build out whatever it is I'm trying to do? Specifically for me, it's usually in the coaching and entrepreneurship space. But with some athletes, it's just their brand, right? And so once we do that, then we take them into mastering 3 areas of your life that help you be successful in anything. Okay. So here's the content I said, right? So here we go. To be successful at anything, you have to master these 3 things. Okay. Your mindset, your skill set, and your network. Okay. You tell me your goal. I'll tell you that if you develop the right mindset, if you develop the right skill set, and if you have the right network, nothing can stop you. Okay. Every course that says they're going to do this is why they start off the first 6 modules are always mindset stuff. Let's get the mentality. Let's go from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. Okay. Another mindset shift that needs to happen is you have to move from, especially if you're at a season where, okay, so if you haven't got a client yet, first you have to believe that you're worth a client, right? That the information you have, the transformation you can bring is worth paying for. Okay. But then there's the next shift, right? It's from low ticket to high ticket. Okay, I know that I'm worth $100 an hour, but maybe not $10,000 a day. That's a mindset shift. Okay. So the reason why you're not growing in that area is because of mindset. The reason why diets don't work is because people change the skill set, but they never change the mindset. You have to develop the mindset first. Okay. And then if you have the skill set, you make more improvements. And then obviously the network. It's hard to eat, live healthy if you're around people who don't eat, live, and healthy. When I was trying to change my lifestyle and I was going all these potlucks where there's no food that's good for you, it was really hard. When I got around people who eat more organic things, it was a lot easier. My network. Okay. Here's what we do. We usually don't spend nearly enough time cultivating our subconscious mind, working on our mindset, telling ourselves a new story about who we are, right? Valuing ourselves, practicing self-love and mental health. Our skill set, we're usually pretty good at that, but we don't do deep work. We're too distracted. We're too much in working in the business, not on the business. Okay. And then our network is just dramatically underutilized, right? We've got about 3,000 friends on Facebook who we don't even know who they are. They could be potential clients. They can be people that can be prayer partners, whatever, right? But we don't even engage with them, right? I tell you what, if you're struggling to get your first client, go through your phone, scroll from A to Z and see who you can be of service to. I guarantee you'll see 10 people. You're oh, I forgot about them. I know they got a business. They need help. I know they, could need some help losing weight or whatever it is that you do, the solution that you provide. So we dramatically underestimate our network because we are so interested in building a following instead of making a connection. We forgot the social, Laura, and social media. And when we start to get social value people first, we'll accomplish anything. Our mindset, our skill set, and our network. And so that's what I help people do. Get clear on their next yes, and then develop the mindset, skill set, and network that's needed to achieve their goals. It's simply that. And it took me 5 years to figure out that process.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's funny because I think I might have accidentally been teaching that in the business coaching program that I do with a group right now. And it's, I feel like the network piece is so true that whether it's a business coach or I would say, like, if you're a business owner or you're just someone trying to get healthy, there's something really powerful about having community to support you in it. Yeah. Which I think right now, with everything the way it is, like, we're recording this in July of 2020. So if you're listening from the future, tell me that it's gotten better. But it has, people are really isolated, and, that they think they have to do it all themselves. And I think that was something that stood out to me from your story that you shared, which I was like, just listening. I was like, this is so good as far as sharing it, but just knowing that you're not alone in any sort of change that you're trying to make, and that you trying to do it on your own is not the answer. And then, as you were mentioning before, just really thinking about the reason why you're doing what you want to do. Because if the reason is because you're trying to make other people like you, no matter how successful you are, like you were saying, even if you're doing really well, even if you had gotten into the NFL when you were playing football, who's to say you wouldn't have had an injury then and then had more to lose at that point? So I just think it's really interesting to see the options. You can either have a bad experience and then make that define your life, or you can have a bad experience and rise up from it and then have that be actually what drives you to make an impact on the world. And I would love to ask you, so again, I feel like I could just let you talk. It's funny because your handle on Instagram is Stinson Speaks, and I feel like that's very appropriate. You're very good at speaking.
It should say Stinson Speaks too much.
Stinson Speaks enough, I would say.
How can I help?
I would love to chat a little bit about how our beliefs about our past experiences, or even our current experiences, because there's a lot happening right now that I think a lot of people are interpreting in certain ways. And I very much agree with you that the way we identify for our own selves, and then also the beliefs that we have about what's happening around us, that's going to dramatically impact how we respond and then the results that we get. So how would you say, whether somebody's an entrepreneur or someone who's just trying to take care of themselves, like be the best person that they can be, how do their beliefs, or how do our beliefs about our past experiences affect our ability to step into our God-given purpose?
Well, we're going to live out the story that we tell ourselves, right? So if I have a past belief that says I'm not enough, that, I'm not gifted enough, smart enough, old enough, white enough, black enough, skinny enough, wealthy enough, whatever, that's the experience we're going to live out. Bible says it this way: as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. One of the most popular wealth generating books is Think and Grow Rich. So your thought life determines your decisions, which determines your results. So I have to learn how to cultivate the story that I'm telling. And usually it's a story that we're telling ourselves. So it's really simple. You tell yourself a different story. Wow. You mean to tell me it's that easy? Okay. It's not that easy, but it's that simple. Just because something is simple doesn't mean it's easy. But it also means that it's not overcomplicated either. This is not like, I was going to say algebra, but there's like smart people listening. So this is not calculus. Okay. If you're telling yourself you don't have enough money, start telling yourself money's out there for me to get. If you're telling yourself it's because of you've been hurt in your past, you've been abused before, start telling yourself that makes you more powerful. I'm not trying to underestimate anyone's pain or trauma. I'm just trying to maximize their power and potential over it. Tell yourself a different story. Wake up and tell yourself you're smart enough, you're pretty enough, you're successful enough, you have enough knowledge, wealth, and information to help somebody else. You've got what it takes. And the more you tell yourself a new story, you shed the past story that you've been living in. You change the experience you see every day. The word is like manifest, right? It's a super spiritual word for you start to see what you believe. Does that mean you don't work hard? No, that means you work harder, knowing that what you believe is going to come. You can't just sit there and think about making a sale and somehow money's going to show up in your bank account. So that does not mean that we can sit in a room and think about making a sale all day and somehow money is just going to show up in our account. That's not what that means. That means that when we think about it, we start to actually visualize the success that we want in life so that when we show up on that sales call, we have the confidence, the energy, the clarity that we need to convert and to add value to others. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned this because it's something that when I teach my clients in that group program I was mentioning, we start with mindset. And I think sometimes people think, oh, it's moving a little slow. Like we're really like talking about all this stuff. And then as soon as and then it's funny because when we get into the actual like action steps, then they start saying, oh, I'm really glad we talked about reframing beliefs because I'm having a lot of beliefs coming up. So, and even from a Christian perspective, I know sometimes like I watched a documentary recently called American Gospel, and it was like very anti the whole like prosperity gospel thing. And there was a lot of good points that they made, but I think one of the things that they didn't show was kind of a balanced perspective about how your thoughts really do create reality. And that doesn't mean that we ourselves are God, right? Like I would never, ever even remotely think God, not, I don't have the power of God. So the world's responsibility is not on my shoulders. But I do think that understanding how much of a role our thoughts play in reality and in the actions we take, how we, like you said, how we show up, like we'll do the sales call, whether or not we feel confident. But if we show up feeling like really anxious and desperate and weird, the person on the other end of that call is going to be like, oh, this seems like a bad thing to say yes to, versus if we are very confident in the value of the services that we provide and like the way that we serve our clients, then it is something that a lot of times will lead to a better outcome. So it's not just about like, law of attraction stuff or something like that. It really does actually make a difference in terms of the actions that we take. So, and again, we're kind of talking about entrepreneurship because Darryll and I are both entrepreneurs, and we entrepreneurs can't not talk about entrepreneurship, right? It's like something that it's just really fun.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And faith and entrepreneurship is a powerful combination because God wants us to be successful, and it's not prosperity gospel. But I always say, what's the opposite of prosperity? Poverty gospel?
Yeah. Right.
That doesn't sound like good news. The gospel means good news. So if I'm going to preach one, I'd rather preach prosperity. Now, what people mean by that is that it's all about the money. And people who are truly, Christians it's not all about the money. It just takes resources to make an impact. Right. And so I just say here's the thing, right? Don't let religion talk you out of your future. Because religion tries to say that one way of thinking is superior to another, and it creates a elitism thing, right? Like, so I'm more spiritual if I go live in the back desert and poor and give away all my goods and all that stuff. And it's a form of self-righteousness. But if we get into theology, we know that on our best day, our righteousness is like filthy rags to him. Here's the Pastor Darryll coming out, which means that there is no spiritual superiority in the kingdom because Jesus paid the price and he evened the playing field. And so on your best day, it's still filthy rags. And so it's not about us, it's about Christ in us, which means that you're not more spiritual than me because you choose to live on the back deserts and be poor. Whatever your calling is, whatever your desire is, God probably put it there anyways. So go after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the same way, your financial status is not a reflection of God's love for you or, how obedient you're being or something like that, which is
not at all.
the other side of that nonsense.
Yeah, it's not at all. His love for you was determined at the cross. It says while we were sinners, he died for us, not while we were wealthy.
Yeah. While you were working on your business, Jesus died for you.
No. How about before you had a business, before you made a sale?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole thing about him affirming Jesus before he goes to get baptized or after he gets baptized, before he steps into public ministry, says, well done.
Mm-hmm.
This is my son in whom I am well pleased. Before he ever healed somebody, did a miracle. So before you ever do anything, he loves you for who you are, because we're human beings, not human doings.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I love it.
Sorry.
No, I don't actually. It was funny. You said, Pastor Darryl's coming out, and I'm like, I hope rapper Darryll comes out in this conversation.
Rapper Darryll. That's funny. So we have to bring out rapper Darryll.
Yeah.
He's hiding in there somewhere.
Oh, well, I know that there's some links we'll put in the show notes if people want to check out more of the music side of things. Something that you mentioned when I was doing some research on what we could talk about today, you talk about the difference between passion and purpose. So can you explain that to our listeners?
Yeah. I am passionate about coaching entrepreneurs, but my purpose is to help misfits discover God's abundance. So, passion is what I do. Purpose is why I do it. Purpose is deeper than passion. Why is that important? Because when I only focus on my next passion, it limits what I'm able to do in the earth. When I find my purpose, I can diversify my income streams. See, I do some radio, so I can do short sound bites. I don't have to be long-winded.
Well, and it's funny because the pursuit of purpose is one of the things that we talk about on this podcast. And let's say somebody's not an entrepreneur, then how does that possibly play into their life where they have lots of passions, but they want to find their purpose?
Same thing. Just what's your why? What drives you? And then you have to dig deeper than your student. I have a guide that I walk my clients through. It's part of my coaching process. I got a course that's out too. I forgot about that. If you just go to secondchanceathletes.com purpose, it'll help you find your purpose no matter where you're at. But no, this is not about being an entrepreneur. It's not about being famous or rich. Like, that's not what purpose is designed to do. I talk about streams of income because I work with entrepreneurs and that's usually what they do. But like, my mom has purpose. She's never going to be an entrepreneur. She was a mom that raised 3 kids, but hey, I'm thankful she raised me. Right. So you got to find out what is the reality that you're trying to make happen for others, because your purpose is attached to that. Your purpose is always attached to people, because if it's not, then it's a personal agenda. And so what are you trying to make happen in the lives of other people? Like, what freedom do you want them to have? What love do you want them to experience? Like what world do you want to create for them to live in? And that's how you discover your purpose. Like, I told I don't know which podcast I was on. I told somebody on another podcast that if I had it my way, the only thing that I would do in my business is purpose clarity sessions. Like, I would just hop on for an hour, do a deep dive with people and help them discover their purpose, because it's that important to me. When you discover your purpose, you get confidence, fulfillment, energy, streams of revenue. Like, you show up better, right? Like, if I know, think about it, like a screwdriver's purpose is to turn a screw. But if you try to use it as a hammer, it's not going to show up right. But if you know it's a screw, you can use it to its full potential. If you show up every day knowing your purpose, so I help this. Like, I just did a purpose clarity session like last week with Julia Tolkien. She's an actress. And so she's got a lot of things going on. Right. And so we started going through, digging through our deep dive and all this stuff. And we get to this point where, like, man, whoa, I've never been able to put together a purpose statement like that. And I'm like, yeah, guess what? That's what you're doing while you're acting. That's why you actually enjoy acting that much. So now the next time you act, you're going to be even better, because you're going to show up knowing your purpose and why you're there.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is a word for me, because I actually have it on my to-do list this week to write my company mission and value statement.
Love it. Love it.
And I totally agree with that, because I think a lot of times people think that what they need to be focusing on is their financial goals, or, like how many followers they have, that kind of thing. And some of the most successful, and when I say successful, I'm putting successful in air quotes, because success can mean so many different things. Success can mean financial success. I look at joy in the work that you do as being part of your success as an entrepreneur. I think most of us wouldn't be entrepreneurs if we didn't want to be able to live out that purpose in our day-to-day life. But being able to be successful, you can't just like shoot without a target, right? If you're trying to aim for something and you have no idea what you're shooting for, you're just going to be like doing all this random stuff and hoping that something works. Whereas if you have that deeper purpose, every decision that you make in your business or in your life, again, we're talking about entrepreneurship because we can't help ourselves, but,
Right.
but even in life in general, having that bigger sense of purpose allows you to make decisions that you can weigh against that purpose. And because a lot of times, like, I love what you say about what's the next yes. I personally have to say no to a lot of stuff lately.
Well, yes
to be
is
able,
no. You can say
well,
no
exactly,
because
yeah.
you know what you're saying yes to. So it's a win-win. Like I can't say yes to going to dinner with my wife and say yes to something else at the same time.
Right.
So saying yes actually gives you focus on what to say no to.
Yeah. I think I forget who this quote is by, but they said every yes must be defended by 1,000 no's, right? So
yes. I'm building that into every keynote now.
Well, and I just feel like having that sense of purpose makes it easier. Not that decision making is easy, but like you said, it's a lot simpler if you can look at your vision and look at your purpose and say, how does this actually line up with that?
Absolutely.
And you're not just saying yes because somebody, guilts you into saying yes, or you feel bad if you don't, or, you're just like, I'm just going to say yes to everything and hope that one of these things works out. So,
right.
And this is an interesting quote. I really wanted to dig into this with you. I have this from your info sheet. You say bigger results come from playing a bigger game.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
So bigger game does not necessarily mean a better game. It just means a bigger game. And I make that distinction because I've shared that a couple of times, and there's always the people that are out there, like my moms that are listening and things like that are like, feel like small because they're not quote unquote playing a bigger game. This is for the people who are called to play a bigger game, right? And oh, by the way, everyone can play this bigger game. Here's the bigger game. You ready? Legacy. What is going to happen beyond your own life? Typically, the game we all play is what's going to happen during our life, right? What do I want to achieve? What's my goals? The books I want to write, the people I want to impact, the lives I want to change, the souls I want to reach if you're a Christian, like whatever. What am I going to do during my life? But we tend not to think about the generations to come. That's what playing a bigger game does. Okay. And when you play that bigger game, I heard a quote say it this way. So this is about money. Don't think we're preaching prosperity gospel, but they said the richest people of our age are the ones who think the most about the age to come. Okay. It's just the concept, right? That you think beyond your own life, and it makes creating what this world needs a lot easier. Okay, that's why Bill Gates is working on a water project, because he recognizes that in the world to come, that's going to be a really big issue. This makes sense. So that's what playing a bigger game means. Okay.
And I guess that would answer my question about why are you so passionate about building a bigger legacy?
Yeah, I'm passionate about it because I feel like it's the sole reason why I survived suicide. People say this phrase, and I don't think they really mean it, but I mean it when I say it, that life is a gift. And when you're a person who tried to end yours, every breath is a gift. And I told God when he saved me from suicide to make my life worth living, that I didn't want to just be average, but I wanted to be exceptional. I wanted to change the world. I wanted people to never have to experience the low I had to experience. I want people to know the love that I get to experience in Christ. I want my children's children to not have to start behind like I started behind. I want them to have equality. That's what playing a bigger game is. That's why I'm passionate about legacy. And that's why I'm passionate about helping other people who want to play a bigger game, who want to build a legacy. Because there's two shifts that people usually make. So first, I help them make the shift from sports usually, or whatever they're doing, to career or entrepreneurship. And then the next shift, from career or entrepreneurship to legacy. It takes a different style of coach. There's probably 100,000 coaches that can help you be successful in this age. But I'm like one of the few that can help you be successful in the age to come. Just my personal opinion.
Well, and I just, from my experience, having been working with clients for, going on almost 7 years now, the most fun I have is when I feel like I'm making a bigger impact beyond just like small things. Even with the nutrition and health work that I've done in the past, because I've right now I'm really focusing more on working with entrepreneurs and helping them grow their nutrition businesses. But even when I was working with the health coaching and consulting clients that I had, it was really a focus on what is the purpose for being healthy and why do we even put this energy into being healthy? Because I think our culture really wants us to be totally focused on ourselves and totally focused on, what our bodies look like, or, that our health is wealth. And so being healthy is the most important thing. And it's something that makes us always focus on ourselves rather than others. And that was something I was always really excited about, working with other people in the health and wellness space to help them look beyond themselves when they are working on their bodies, working on their health, working on their fitness. And then now that I work with entrepreneurs, I can see, it's not just about making money. It's about what's the impact you're having on the world around you. And I like to see like that ripple effect of impact from me helping someone else so that they can help others. It just feels like my impact has grown. So it's really cool to be able to really look beyond yourself. And listen, like you said, there's nothing wrong with being paid for great work and for, having success in your own life. But it really is empty success if you can't also see the value that you're bringing to other people's lives. So that's why I love entrepreneurship, and I'm sure you do too.
I love it. I love it too. I do. It's my type of people, man. So, but whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, a healthcare worker, a lawn care worker, a daycare owner, a daycare worker, like blue collar, middle class, lower class, upper class, it does not matter. Just be the best version of you. Give all of you to the world. All of your love, all of your joy, all of your compassion, all of your uniqueness, because the world deserves you. There will never be another person like you. Yes, you that's listening, with your flaws, with your failures, with your successes, with your gifts, with your talents, with your skin color, with your eye color. There will never be another person like you. Even if you're a twin, there's still not another person like you. That's how unique you are. And it's that uniqueness that God created to be a gift to the world. So I want to thank everybody listening for being a gift. I mean that with my whole heart. You're a gift.
Well, Darryll, like I said, could probably listen to you talk for a long time. So I'll have to stay connected and just keep up with what you're doing online, because I think it's really great. I think the message is awesome. I think, like you said, it applies to people, whether they are an entrepreneur or a mom or, anywhere in between. And just understanding that your purpose and your past is really what makes you unique and what makes you valuable to people around you. And, no matter what you accomplish, you're valuable in the eyes of God. But I believe that all of us have more that we can always not only give to the world, but also experience in the world. And I just love the message that you're sharing. So with that said, is there any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience? Or is there somewhere that they can go to get more of your words of wisdom?
I would just say, if you're ready to play a bigger game, if you need clarity on your next yes, if there's anything that I can do or help or serve you, just shoot me an email, man. Darryll@secondchanceathletes.com. People tell me stop giving away my email address, but here's what I know. If we're supposed to connect, like, it'll find its way to me and I'll find my way to you. Like, so just shoot me an email. Don't be scared. And let's just go to the next level, right? Reach out to me, reach out to Laura, like whoever, I don't care. Just want to be of help. And I want to see people become the best version of themselves. I want to see people thrive and succeed and live mentally healthy and wealthy and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, I love it. And it was so cool to get to talk to you, Darryll. We will make sure that all of your links are in the show notes so that everybody can check those out. They can get that free gift that you mentioned. And other than that, it was really cool to get to hear your story and to get to hear all the awesome stuff that you're doing, just coming out of that rejection that you experienced growing up and being able to turn it into something really amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you to all of you for listening. We will see you here next week on the Fed and Fearless podcast. Take care, everybody. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to the Fed and Fearless podcast. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes so I can keep sharing my best content with you every week. And use the hashtag #FedAndFearless when sharing the episodes that you love the most on social media like Instagram and Facebook so I can connect with you personally. And if you're enjoying the content I've been sharing on this podcast, you're going to absolutely love my free online training, The 5 Secrets of Fearlessly Healthy Women of Faith. This training covers the 5 most important shifts you must make in order to become truly healthy and free from fear around your health decisions. Listen, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were created for so much more than fear and frustration around food and fitness. Let me show you how you can experience true freedom in your health and incredible purpose for your life. If you're ready to experience true peace and freedom in your health, here's what I want you to do. To watch this free training, go to fedandfearless.com/free. That's fedandfearless.com/FREE free. You'll get instant access to this 1-hour training, and you'll walk away with a brand new method for approaching health from a faith-based perspective, so you can live the purpose-driven life you were created for. Go get your free download now at fedandfearless.com/free. All right, I'll see you on the next episode. Until then, get out there and be fearless in your pursuit of a healthy, purpose-driven life.